Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Going my cheat sheet for today's MLB main slate for today on DraftKings. I also put together a very light version of this sheet at the end of this video for the early slate, so if you're interested, I'd recommend staying around for that. Anyway, before we continue, if you could leave a like, subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate that. You can also hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. And if you're interested in this cheat sheet, my pitching model, hitting model, projections, my Slack chat, my updated video I do before lock, because a lot of changes from 11 p.m. at night the day before, from 6 o'clock the day of. You can hit the link in the description below, and it'll take you to my Patreon, where we have over 70 members. So if you want to sign up, best time to do it, first of the month. And in Slack chat, it's awesome. You can ask me all the questions you want, bother me all day. It doesn't actually bother me. It's a really chill environment in there. We got a good group of guys in there, answer questions. Even if I'm not answering questions at that moment, these guys will answer questions too, and it's a fun place to be in. No one's intimidating or anything, so feel free to ask all the questions you want. I'll review your lineups, all that good stuff. So anyway, let's get into the cheat sheet, and I will show a preview of the pitching sheet just to know what you'd be getting into. So my three pitchers I like today are Garrett Cole, 11,300, Max Fried at 5,800, and then Jack Flaherty at 8,600. So let's go into the pitching sheet and talk about Garrett Cole first off. So you guys know, if you're new to the channel, you probably don't know, but those of you who have been around here for a while, you guys know I love the Indians. I play them a lot, so I don't like picking on them, but I think we're gonna have to pick on them this time, unfortunately. So we got Garrett Cole, 11,300. He is usually a little bit more expensive in the 12K range, and he's just been absolutely excellent this year. Arguably the best pitcher in the league this season. He's got a 2.69 xFIP, 37% K rate, absolutely insane strikeout rate. It doesn't walk a lot of guys at 6%. And his K rate versus lefties is insane, 40%. And what are the Indians known for? Having a bunch of lefties in their lineup. Now, I don't know if Franmil Reyes and Yasiel Puig are going to be in the lineup just yet, but if they are, it doesn't really hurt Cole, because he's got a 34% strikeout to righties. But if they're not in the lineup, he's going to see a ton of lefties, and he's just going to have a strikeout party, in my opinion. So I love Garrett Cole going into this matchup. And I like the reduced price tag on him. And Justin Verlander just had an amazing game versus the Indians. He's a heavy favorite. It's a lower Vegas total, so I do like Garrett Cole a lot. And then Jack Flaherty, 8,600. He just seems a little underpriced for me. He's got good numbers. 3.97 xFIP, 27% K rate. Walk rate's at 8%, which isn't good. But really, he's got almost ace-level stuff. I'm not saying he is an ace, but he's the Cardinals ace. But he's got good stuff, 8,600. He's probably more of a 9K something pitcher. And the hard contact worries me a little bit, and he is a little bit worse versus lefties, but I really like this matchup for him. He's got a 32% K rate versus righties, 161 ISO. I shouldn't say I love the matchup, but I like the price point and the kind of pitcher he is more than I like the matchup. But yeah, he's coming in a good price, and it's not the worst matchup in the world versus the Cubs. He is pitching at home. He is a favorite, so I do like Jack Flaherty if you don't want to spend all the way up for Cole. And then if we're spending all the way down, Max Fried looks like an awesome option today at 5,800 going against a Cincy team that's got quite a bit of lefties. He's been good this season, 3.53 xFIP, which is actually third best on the entire slate, 23% strikeout rate, and he gets a ton of ground balls at 53%, only a 21% fly ball rate, and versus lefties, he's elite. Only a .080 ISO, 24% strikeout rate, doesn't allow a lot of fly balls at all, only 14%, 6% walk rate. I love him tomorrow. I don't know how we're not going to play him. He's way too cheap going against Cincy, who just lost Yasiel Puig, so they just lost a righty in the lineup, which obviously Fried's worse versus righties, as you can see, but he's only going to have to face Senzel. There's some other guys I can't remember off the top of my head. What's his name? Nah, it doesn't matter anyway. But Senzel, I know for sure. They lost Puig. Oh, Suarez. And then there's a few guys at the bottom of the order. So I do think this is a pretty good matchup for Fried. He's pitching at home. He is a favorite, so I think he makes a lot of sense. So that's all I got for the pitchers. I will say there's a lot of stuff on here. You got the splits versus lefties and righties. Then we got Vegas once that comes out. Overall matchup info, opponent splits versus lefties, opponent splits versus righties, all that good stuff, park factors, and I got projections on there as well. So if you're interested, hit the link in that description below. And anyway, that's enough plugging of that. Let's get into the cheat sheet, which I already just went over the pitchers, so I'm not going to just reiterate that. But at catcher, I got Brian McCann at 3,700. Desclafani is an easy guy to break down. You want to take the lefties versus him and avoid the righties at all costs, basically. So I do like the Braves lefties here, which we'll get into some of the other guys soon. Christian Vasquez at 4K. Red Sox facing another lefty, and McKay coming off a poor outing versus the White Sox. Now, if you were actually watching that game that McKay was pitching, he was getting really unlucky. Austin Meadows cost him about 3 runs himself from not knowing how to catch a baseball. They didn't give him an error, so McKay really kind of got screwed there. But I do like the righties versus McKay. These Red Sox bats are just they're just too good. I mean, we got Vasquez, JD, Bogarts, Mookie. Too many good righties here, and I think they have their way with McKay. Then Mike Zunino at 2,600. If he's in the lineup, I don't mind him versus Cashner, who's getting hit hard by righties. Usually last year, and really in his career, he's been a guy that's getting smashed by lefties, high fly ball rate to them, low strikeout rate. This year it's flipped. He has been very, very tough on lefties and not good versus righties. So I do like the righties here, and Zunino actually has had more power to righties this season. The only problem with this guy is he's either going deep or he's striking out, and most of the time he strikes out. But I don't mind that price tag at 2,600. And then at first base, we got Freddie Freeman at 5,100. Like I said with McCann, give me all the lefties versus Estefani, and this is one of the best lefties in the league and the best lefty on their team, so he makes a lot of sense. Paul Goldschmidt at 4,400. I wish he was still in that 3K range back when we were playing him almost every single day. He kept facing lefties, and he finally started doing good. But 4,400 is not too bad either. And 11 versus lefties, 277 ISO to left-handed pitching this season, and Lester has been giving up plenty of power to righties this season with over a 200 ISO. Then I got Anthony Rizzo and Tyler White here. So let's talk about Rizzo, 4,300. I like Flaherty, but the one blemish on him is facing lefties, as I went over earlier. More power to them, less strikeout rate, higher walk rate, all of that. And Tyler White at 2,700. So he's only in play for me if he's got a prime spot in the order, like he had last time when they were facing a lefty. In Coors, I know he was batting. I think he was batting cleanup. I think so. Or no, was he batting fifth? It was like fifth or sixth or something. It wasn't too bad. And by prime, I mean like for Tyler White, 5 or 6 is fine. If he's batting 8th, probably not. But he is really cheap facing a lefty. And then at second base, we got Kevon Biggio at 4,200. Don't love second base today. I feel like I've said that quite a bit, but the past few days. But I don't mind this Blue Jays and Orioles game. Could be a good spot for runs today at decently cheap prices. Love Biggio versus right-handed pitching. Ozzy Albies at 4,200. Again, give me the lefties versus Desclafani, and he's been hitting the ball well recently. And he's kind of a streaky guy, so when he's cold, he's cold. When he's starting to warm up and get hot, you kind of want to play Albies. So do like Albies. Then Michael Chavis at 4,300. He's better versus lefties. It just sucks where he hits versus I shouldn't say versus lefties, where he hits in the order. Because tonight, whenever you're watching this, he was batting 8th. He's still got a home run though, so that's not bad. But he's just part of that Red Sox stack I like. And then at third base, we got Vlad Guerrero Jr. at 4,400. Asher's been actually really good versus righties. He's got a 42% strikeout rate versus them. Now, this is a small sample, but he's really not been all that awful at all. He's actually been pretty good. But I do think he's in over his head. I don't think he's that good of a pitcher. Maybe somewhere in between being really good and being really bad. He's probably more of an average pitcher. And the bullpen's just awful, though, and they'll get to them eventually. Hopefully, Asher just doesn't absolutely dominate these guys. But Vlad's been pretty good versus right-handed pitching this season, so don't mind using him. Justin Turner at 4,300. Love him versus lefties. And no, this isn't in Coors Field, but that's just why he's 1,100 cheaper, and I don't always like him versus lefties. Luke Casey's giving up a decent amount of power to righties this season. Then Manny Machado at 3,900. Kind of surprising maybe to see him on my list versus Kershaw, but he's actually owned Kershaw this season. He had 2 homers off of him earlier in the season, and he just murders lefties. ISO over 400, a little bit over 500, and yeah, I don't mind Manny Machado at this cheap price point. And then in the high-end outfield, we got JD Martinez at 5,400. There's 3 things guaranteed in life. It's me being biased for the Indians, Michael Brantley being on the sheet facing a righty, and JD hitting homers off of left-handed pitching. He does it almost every single time. He did it tonight versus Ryan Yarbrough. Love JD. His price tag actually finally came up. He's been in that 4K range for quite a while, unless I missed a day, but finally priced up, unfortunately, so he's not as easy to fit in our lineups anymore, but I would make him a court play tomorrow. And if we're playing Fried, salary shouldn't be an issue, and I'd make him a core spend up. Then Mookie Betts, 5,500, part of the Red Sox stack, but if I had to pick between the two, give me JD all day. And then other than that, there wasn't anything I really liked. There was Alvarez and Springer, all those guys versus Danny Salazar, but I'm kind of gonna stay away from picking on Salazar until we see what he is. He's been he hasn't been on the field in like 2 years. But so just gonna use a wait and see approach. But yeah, Anthony Santander at 4,800. Nothing else I really like up here, but I do prefer the lefties versus Thornton, and I think this Orioles Blue Jays game could be pretty high scoring. In the mid-range outfield, we got Tommy Pham at 4,600. Now, I'm not sure if he's actually going to be playing because he has been hurt, but I did read he was available to pitch hint, I think. Was that today or yet last night? So, if he's in the lineup, I do like him versus Cashner. You know, as I said, he's been pretty bad versus righties this season, and Pham has actually been pretty good versus righties. Not the best, but he's still been good. So I wouldn't leave him off your Rays stacks if you are stacking up the Rays. Now, I'm not saying we have to completely avoid the lefties if you're full stacking, but just for picking one off, give me the righties. The Michael Brantley at 4,700. I have no idea how Salazar is going to be. He's been gone for so long. But Brantley is my only play versus him, and everyone else is wait and see. And then Avisail Garcia at 4,300. Just a righty versus Cashner. Doesn't have the worst numbers versus righties. Garcia, that is. Then the value outfield, we got A.J. Pollock at 3,600. I would assume he's going to be leading off for lefty, and he's very cheap. Lucchesi he's allowing a decent amount of power to righties. Now, Jose Martinez, this is one of my core plays for tomorrow, 3,500. He's got a 333 ISO to lefties, and this is one of my favorite value plays of the entire slate. Then Sam Travis at 3,300. He was batting 6th last night, which I was thinking that Chavez might get that spot. But it was Sam Travis, and he's pretty cheap, and he's been decent versus lefties, so I don't mind using him. Then if we go to some of the core plays and top stacks, we got Max Fried at 5,800. So you can either spend up for Flaherty or Cole, but either way, I want to use Fried as my SP2. He's going to let us get some bats in, so I do like that. And then I got JD and Jose Martinez in the outfield. I do like their spots a lot. The top stacks for me are going to be the Red Sox, the Braves lefty, so that's Markakis, Inciarte, Freeman, Albies, Brian McCann, and then I like that Blue Jays Orioles game. And then I guess I like the Rays too, but I don't know, Cashner worries me. He seems to ruin my stacks all the time. Then these are my favorite plays for the early slate. I'm not going to go in depth on here, but I do like Wheeler versus the White Sox, 10.4K. Pineda versus Miami, and then Chase Anderson versus Oakland. He's not the best pitcher, and he's reverse splits guy, so that kind of worries me going against all these righties, but he's not been too bad. Now he's getting a park upgrade in Oakland to pitch in, so I don't mind Chase Anderson. Stephen Vogt versus Jake Arrieta. He's been very susceptible to lefties. Real Muto versus Rodriguez. Grandal versus Mengden, who's been much worse versus lefties. Like Hoskins as well. Brandon Belt's probably my favorite play of all these guys actually leading off versus Jake Arrieta. He's been just terrible versus lefties. So Brandon Belt I like a lot. And then Cesar Hernandez, he should be leading off versus Rodriguez. Jeff McNeil should be leading off versus, I don't even know how to say his name. Is it Cease? Probably Cease. Cano, he's just a cheaper version of McNeil. Obviously not as good these days, but he is really cheap. Should be batting cleanup. And then, or third. And then we got Matt Chapman versus the reverse splits righty and Chase Anderson. Mike Moustakas, a lefty versus Mengden. Crawford, I really like Crawford at that price. I probably could be a core play for me along with Brandon Belt. Just too cheap facing Arrieta, who's been really bad versus lefties. Then Marcus Semien versus Chase Anderson. He's been worse versus righties. Then in the outfield, Christian Yelich for spending all the way up. Now, I don't know if Corey Dickerson's going to be in the lineup, but he did get traded to the Phillies, so he is in a really good spot if he is in the lineup. And then Jeff McNeil, we talked about. Bryce Harper, just another lefty on the Phillies versus Rodriguez. Michael Conforto, 4,500, lefty versus Cease. And then Chris Davis at 3,700. Really cheap and facing your reverse splits righty, so he makes a lot of sense if we need to save some salary there. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for the video. I hope this was all helpful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. I really appreciate that. If you want access to all the extra content, hit the link in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next video, and I wish you guys the best of luck.